discoveries of people like coming there to learn more about the region token and discovering that the whole entire region framework was like very applicable for a number of things they were working on, and that was exciting. Yeah.
Will, anything from your takeaways or James?
Well, I just on a kind of long-term level, we had met the like maybe like two conference rooms down the hall, like same time 7 years ago, and I just could sort of feel us sort of being. I was thinking of this like spiral and us being like the next level up on the spiral, looking back over the 7 years here. So it was really great to feel that and see that.
Awesome. Hey, Eve, I know you were somewhat of a new entrant into the conversation. I was curious to get some high-level takeaways from you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. It was really great to be there and to meet the team in person. I've been following Regen's Network's work from a distance. So I think having the opportunity to learn about the whole landscape and then having people, credit builders there talk about their projects was really powerful. So yeah, and also it was just great to be with you all. You all are good people. So it gave me
Hmm,
a lot of confidence and faith in the project.
great. Any other comments, James? Anything you want to add on to that?
No, it was a really great event. Good to see so many people there in person. Unfortunately, wish I could have made it, but I was able to join in Zoom. And yeah, great to see all of the different people building things and to see it all in one place was great.
Lovely. Right on. So right after New York City, Gregory and Austin caught a flight out to Oslo, Norway. Austin, you want to share a little bit about the RF4 concept and why you would fling yourself across the world to the cold, snowy environment of Norway for a conversation?
Sure. Um, the context from which RF4 has emerged has been simmering and growing within the region ecosystem for several years now. And it centers around an initiative that's being led by mostly Scandinavian and Norwegian regenerative economic organizations, primarily through the leadership of Per Espen Stoknes, who's been very active in the development of the biocultural crediting with jaguars in the Amazon and has been a collaborator and ally for Regen Network for some time now. RF4 stands for Regenerative Finance for Forestry and Food Systems, which I think is just three Fs. So I don't know why it's RF4, but we can ask about that. But that's the general container for a consortium of regenerative finance organizations, which each have a kind of unique approach to delivering on different SDG impact targets. And the idea is to form an alliance between what could otherwise be competing organizations to find interoperability and differentiation of roles, such that as an organization, much larger sets of like impact capital can be directed into this ecosystem. So RF4 makes possible capital allocations primarily in the form of forgivable loans through donor advised funds to entity to basically like that would not be possible for any individual participant in RF4, but collectively as a consortium and through the differentiation, it unlocks a kind of new tier of access. So RF4 is an exciting new consortium. It's across the board from Europe and the United States. It's international. Regen Network, broadly speaking, is the only like Web3 blockchain native entity in the group. So we have a really interesting and unique value proposition. And over one day at the Norwegian Business School in Oslo, the teams got together, presented the basic theory of change and the underlying concepts, and then laid out some plans around how we could work together. So the high level is, out cooperate the competition, I think is really beautifully expressed here. In a scenario where you have many different organizations, each with potential levels of redundancy or overlap, it's not very efficient, but under the right circumstances, we can band together and create larger entities. So Regen Network is still certainly intact, but we're a participant in this idea of RF4, and we're kind of architecting what the basis of that is. And we got to go cross-country skiing, which is really fun.
Yeah, great. Well, and I want to kind of re-emphasize here, it's the part that I want to bring to the head, and also have you all think in your own networks, is Regen Network again as a base layer for ecological finance, or for ecological accounting, or however you want to put the categorization, but that on our own, our opportunities are limited, but in consortium, our ability to pursue funding and more global scale activities, it becomes much greater. So I think, for me, it's been a little more eye-opening to understand the power of consortiums to pursue, funding with quite a number of zeros after it, in order to be able to reach to get the attention of funders that otherwise would ignore us, or we wouldn't even qualify at the base level. So certainly, as you all are out in your networks, thinking as a network member and owner of Regen, as a co-owner, be thinking of these broader consortium opportunities where we can pair up with 3 to 5 or 7 to 10 organizations and approach larger scale opportunities is something I'm excited about moving forward. Awesome. All right, we'll keep moving. Exploring claim verification. Sam, was this on your side?
Yeah, this was me.
Awesome.
Yeah, so today I was here to present some stuff on the product side of things, and we didn't really have too many major updates. We're still kind of in the process of getting together our roadmap, figuring out resources and planning. And so instead, I thought I would share a little bit of some interesting product work that's been happening in our ecosystem. So I'm going to be presenting this, but I just want to acknowledge that this is really reflections from a series of conversations we've had with Austin and Paul and Corey in the Framework Working Group around claim verification, exploring kind of technical graph-based ontologies for how do we represent evidence and claims, as well as a lot of the work that we've been doing internally on the registry program with Tika and Becca and Giselle around how we, as registry agents and operators of the Regen Registry program, support the verification and validation of project registration and credit issuance initiatives. So yeah, I threw together a few slides, but I would love to invite, Austin, Becca, Tika, if you guys want to chime in, if folks have questions. This is hopefully meant to just be a more informal group exploration of an idea that's been working, and I thought would be fun to share with you guys. So yeah, you could go to the next slide.
Okay.
Yeah, so to start, I wanted to ground this by talking about an example of how claim verification works today in our ecosystem. So as you guys all know, the R&D PBC team have been operating the Regen Registry program for the last few years. So we support organizations in deploying credit protocols, registering projects, and issuing credits to those projects. And as part of that, we play the role of what's called a registry agent, whose responsibility it is to ensure that people registering projects and issuing credits under specific protocols are uploading data and essentially backing the claims that they're making based off of the requirements they outlined in the protocol they wrote. So on the right, I just threw in, so this is the Terrasos protocol for issuing biodiversity credits. And this is an example of one of the workflows we use internally to help verify that Terrasos has uploaded all of the information they need to register a project. So it's kind of hard to see. I should have made this bigger. But, in this table, you can see that there are kind of categories. Those categories align to different sections of their protocol. And each section in the protocol will outline a set of requirements that people interested in registering projects need to prove. So for instance, the first one is they have to provide a name of the project, a start date, a duration, They have to provide details around the location. Some of those are written descriptions about, the ecosystem characteristics. Some are uploading GIS files about the actual property boundaries and the areas eligible for credit issuance. So we kind of map those requirements against, what we decide is acceptable evidence. Is it a written description? Is it a GIS file? Is it a land tenureship document if they're trying to prove land ownership? And then we actually go ahead and check their submitted material against the requirements. And then we decide, did they complete the requirement? Did they upload all of the necessary information to move forward with registering the project? And so this process is very much manual. It's greatly improved, and we're still kind of ironing out the kinks. But as we grow, the complexity of verification, and the number of people out there that are interested in engaging with this kind of processes, we want to kind of enable more consistent, transparent, automated, efficient processes. So the goal that we've kind of been working on in the framework working group is how do we use and leverage RDF and knowledge graphs to build more automated claim verification software. If we get to the next slide. Yeah, so kind of the work that we've been doing in the framework working group is we've been exploring different ontologies around claim verification. So we're trying to figure out what is a clear relationship between mapping claims to evidence to the parties uploading them in attestations. So in the graph on the right, you can see kind of a mock-up we have where each claim is backed by different pieces of evidence, and those evidence are attached to individuals that are actually uploading them or attesting to them like a verifier. And so this kind of maps exactly to that process that we were showing on the previous slide, where us as registry agents are actually the ones attesting to pieces of evidence supporting claims for people interested in registering projects. Yep, you can go to the next slide. So, just to speak to kind of some ideas we've had around the technical vision in the working group, is we want to kind of map that very manual PDF-based process into machine-readable documents. And so we're using RDF, which is a graph-based way of representing data, as our kind of tool set to structure data schemas and information. And so we're interested in how do we build out technical schemas, data schemas that represent evidence, that represent claims, and can be strung together to support in automatically constructing forms for people to fill out requirements based off of schemas we generate, or actually doing automated checks based off of, if you uploaded a GIS file, does that actually meet the requirement of, something like proving a project location? So you can go to the next slide. Yeah, so that's kind of a high level overview. Again, I just wanted to throw this idea out there. If people are interested, ask questions. Austin, Becca, Tika, if you have things you want to add, please do. Right now in the technical working group, we're working on researching existing claim ontologies like nano publications. And we're currently thinking about, how do we map some of the current processes we have in the Regen registry as a pilot use case to some of the research and ontologies we're seeing in other areas, whether it's biomedical, different environmental claims, taxonomies and ontologies, and how do we start to build prototypes just to experiment with some of these ideas that we're working with. Yeah, so that's all I had. If folks have questions, if Austin and others want to add in, please do.
Maybe just a quick aside that to date, the biomedical industry has gotten quite far in structuring data models around these things, like saying that a certain gene has a certain correlation with a phenotype or like an expression of a condition, a physical condition. So in the biological community, like biomedical community, there's been quite a bit of work to map out genomes and make correlations with diagnostics and things like that. But the environmental science sector is dramatically lagging behind. And so I just want to emphasize that this is an incredibly interesting opportunity to bring more rigorous data informatics and data models to a space that's the traditional climate finance industry is a dinosaur compared to what's happening in the biomedical space. And so I think we want people to understand that Regen is like taking on this really big question and bringing the whole ecological interaction space with the same level of rigor, and that's just tremendously exciting. And we're learning a lot from the biomedical space, but it's like it's fresh tracks in a lot of ways. So yeah, thanks for putting this together, Sam. That's awesome.
I'd also love to reinforce some of the context here, which is that we also identified there's a lot of, there are some bottlenecks and blockers because of the high costs of verification that are linked to the project. So this is a way to find and identify which pieces or which components we can really automate to check for completeness, check for that the information is there, and really focus on whatever requires an expertise, something that should be done by a real expert, a human, so that we can narrow a little bit what the verification and as we know it today in the markets needs to happen, and lower the costs, lower the times for delivery, and be more expedite, and yeah, improve in many angles.
Thank you. Any questions or thoughts from folks who aren't as familiar with this?
Can I add something to it?
Yeah, please.
We've explored this through the lens of carbon methodologies and biodiversity methodologies so far. And I think it's really interesting to, as we work on this, to just see where things fit better, because things were a little bit clearer and came through this process differently with like a carbon methodology, where things are just like laid out differently. So it's interesting to think about what's like methodology dependent, what's like more dependent on the sector it's coming from and how mature or not that sector is. So I think there's a whole host of questions and research that can be done to accompany this. And it's good to keep it definitely locked into its context. Thanks for sharing that, Sam.
Yeah, thanks for saying, Sham. I learned something. Great. So, Tika, are you there? Tika.
Yes, yes.
Are
it is.
you ready to do a screen share and talk about the website?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just stop my screen share and feel free. Hopefully you're enabled. If it asks me for permission, I'm ready.
Host disabled, participant screen sharing. Yeah. Can you share, Dave?
How do
I can't do it.
it says not giving you the option.
Yeah.
There is that little shield button that allows you to enable screen sharing. It should be like on the bottom of your screen.
Okay, record to computer. It says allow all. It says everyone's allowed.
It looks like I can
there we
show
go.
if you want to get
I got it.
point me around.
I think she got it. There we go. Cool.
You guys see it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we launched this website in the fall and just want to make sure people have taken time to look at it or guide people through what's here. Erica was huge in getting this design done, so hats off to her for all this work. But yeah, there's a nice introduction to our registry and sort of a little bit about how we have evolved in the past few years and who we're working with. So that's kind of the landing page. Our process, it can walk you through if you have an existing protocol or if you want to develop your own protocol. So a little bit different from trying to launch right into our handbook. This will help guide you at kind of a higher level of the processes, and links out to different chapters of the handbook, really. Then our credit protocols have moved over here. They were housed in a Gitbook repository and now they're here. So nice interface, and this is where you can get into the nitty gritty of what the whole history was with the review process with a document. Some of them list the reviewers, other reviewers have remained anonymous, and that's actually one thing I'd like to add here is the reviewers that have said they would like to be named. I'd like to have a page that just lists our technical reviewers for these. But yeah, it's a nice way to see all the different types of protocols we have and dig into what went into launching those protocols. The tech is a little bit about our blockchain and a brief overview of our data stream technology that's available. And you'll actually see this on the app. When you go to look at a project on the app, you'll see this uploaded there. Resources, links back to our handbook and our guide, which we are in the process of doing some updates on, and a learning center here. So these are different articles that have been published that will take you deeper into some subjects here at Regen, from working with Indigenous peoples to our data stream, and some stuff about environmental stewardship are on here. And then the support is, shows, this links to our calendars, which show this call, as well as the Eco Credit Builder Lab and our Hilo group, and our YouTube channel, which has recordings of a lot of our, more public facing events that we've had, and or where we're mentioned in other people's events that they're running. So yeah, just wanted to give everybody a quick overview of that, let folks know that this is here, and always happy for feedback on the design too. So send that our way. If you take a minute to get in there and play and have some feedback, we'd love to hear it.
Awesome. Any questions or comments on the registry website? And again, huge shout out to Tika and Erica and the team for pulling together on that. That was a big push to get that out, and it's incredibly helpful. Awesome. All right. I'm going to go back to screen sharing on my side. Hopefully I can get back to my thing. So bear with me for a sec. Sorry, my screen share. Zoom issues. Sam, do you mind screen sharing the from your side, the deck?
Yeah, let me pull it up.
I got it. Okay, you all seeing it?
We see Twitter.
Yeah. How about that? No.
Still Twitter. Here, I got it.
Great, thank you. Awesome. Eco token, James, you want to jump in and share what the latest is from the eco token side of things?
Sure. Yeah. I think last time we might have announced, but this is essentially a poorly mapped out ecosystem map of what we've kind of enabled so far. So it's on retirement functionality and permissionless APIs available to retire credits on 9 different chains now. And on each chain, there's about 6 tokens accepted for payment for eco credits. And then these are some of the applications that are available now. So like Regen Atlas on Celo, and then our marketplace are on Aptos, Solana, and Eclipse, but we haven't built anything yet on the other chains. And basically the next step is to build one kind of unified marketplace type thing where everything's available. And we're working on a bit of a rebrand because the token's super confusing. So we're working for ETH Denver to become Eco Bridge potentially. So that'll be kind of cool and cause a little bit less confusion. So yeah, it just making the overall experience much easier for anyone to use, and not just single chain marketplaces is what we're up to.
Awesome question. So this, I mean, it continues to be a huge development for, frankly, getting us more interoperable out of the Cosmos ecosystem and connected to a number of other ecosystems with a lot more activity and hopefully some demand for our eco credits and ideally future regen token. And I'd say on a related note, and I'll just kind of dip into it, we do plan on, I think, fingers crossed, we have a call in the morning, tomorrow morning with ETH Denver to be an official sponsor to offset the carbon footprint of all of ETH Denver, and hopefully have them make some biodiversity investments. So that'll be something we find out tomorrow. And if so, we'll have a booth at ETH Denver and the opportunity to play a game, ideally where the attendees are playing a game at our booth and one by one, booth or person by person, slowly chipping away at offsetting the carbon footprint of the event. And part of that will involve some interaction with some of the eco token technology stack as it relates to Regen Ledger and our credit providers. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll have more details on that, but I'm just picking up that theme of eco tokens really opening up some amazing doors for us to be able to more natively interact with other blockchain ecosystems and create a new demand vector for our credits. So, and also just on the ETH Denver front, as a sponsor, we'll have a booth. We're still figuring out if we're going to have a side event. If we do, my instinct is it'll probably be a little smaller than last year's side event. Last year was quite it was an all day at the Bigsby Folly venue. I'm thinking it potentially might be some version of the ethical capital formation conversation or a small refi gathering and on an evening. So something like 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 hours. So stay tuned for that. We're trying to find out what they will allow us to do as a sponsor because they don't allow for competing events during the daytime. So that's what's moving on, ETH Denver and Eco Token. So thanks, Alex and James from the Eco Token team for your continued pushing the limits and getting us connected to the Web3 ecosystems. Wonderful. Next slide. Okay, next slide. Is this Austin? Are these great? You want to pick?
Yeah, these are new. These are I have several. We'll go through them kind of quickly. I felt like this kind of setup that we've been using to present Regen Network and the relationship with the foundation and R&D PBC is a kind of helpful way to reintroduce the foundation in 2025. That if you can think of one of the core focuses and propositions of Regen Network Development Public Benefit Corporation is around the development and the definition of eco credits, kind of a new form of value that the Regen Foundation has been developing ecological institutions, kind of like eco institutions, which are the sort of social and organizational bodies which govern and issue those credits. And we've been kind of increasingly in this role of focusing on what we're calling the first mile of community ownership and governance around eco credits and impact claims. And if one of the core propositions of Regen Network more broadly is around origination, we're really focused on how communities own and govern the process of designing and issuing credits. And what does it look like from a governance perspective? Next slide. So we'll continue doing pilots in grassroots contexts around governance that uses the Regen Network stack, some of the CosmWasm integrations that allow DAO to do cool stuff. And you can check out our LinkedIn for some past work we've been doing on taking the existing functionality of the Regen Ledger and using it to explore some peer validation of claims, participatory budgeting and allocation processes, and supporting a workshopping process for communities to design eco credits. You can go to the next slide. We're developing some cool concepts around this idea of covenants, as containers and spaces to form partnerships between um, nonprofits and larger organizations like Regen Foundation and R&D PBC with different Indigenous and IPLC communities. And these covenants are a kind of a way of creating a container within which partnerships around certain core values can be maintained and upheld. And so this idea of ecological institutions that we began last year has just continued to grow momentum. And we're going to be doing a bunch more of that in 2025, which I'm really excited about. Uh, yeah, we have, I guess the slide got changed, but that's okay. Yeah, so we're partnering and still continuing to work with Regen Registry from R&D PBC. It's a joint effort to do the Eco Credit Builder Lab, which is a monthly open call with the community. And we're meeting and developing a whole plan to kind of streamline the process of operations for that so that there's a more easy way to sign up, to track who's participating in it, to have reoccurring invites, and to have better documentation on the other side of it. And, you know, it's become a, Howard, I can happily share the link. I'll paste it into the chat. A point of contact for the broader public to interact with Regen and other aligned initiatives like BioFi. Sometimes I feel like Regen Network, you know, is incredibly sophisticated conceptual and technical implementation, but it's really helpful to have human beings explaining and sort of walking through the process for the newly initiated, and the Eco Credit Builder Lab has been pretty an exciting place for that. There might be one more for me. That might be it. Oh yeah, and then some new writing. We've been engaged in thought leadership for the past couple of years. And so all the stuff that Sam presented and around the sort of like the idea of a framework and the framework working group, we want to work with all those who are interested in it to get more of those ideas out into the world because I think there's a lot of potential there. We're working on a new kind of follow-up piece to the ecological institutions as a sort of thought leadership between sort of hybrid economic, technical, and legal approaches to regeneration, and maybe some cool new stuff like a visual atlas to regeneration. We've been doing a lot of visual diagramming and exploring not just written, but more like graphical ways to explore these ideas. So lots to be excited about. Feel free to reach out. Yeah, and I'll paste that covenant doc into the chat now. That's all.
Thanks, Austin. We've already done the tours. We can pass on that. And then, yeah, just the tokenomics. I don't know if there's if this slide is still relevant, but Will, anything noteworthy or Brandon from the tokenomics working group that might be worth discussing?
I went ahead and added the bullet point around the liquidity DAO, which I think is exciting and cool. I'm not as much a point of contact for that, but if anyone has been developing that, that might be a good thing to surface just on this call.
Yeah, I'm pinging Axelar in the Discord, so I'm brawling with the Discord to get Regen, Ledger, and Osmosis to help James pretty much take us multi-chain and deal that regen flow.
Great.
We just
Thank
need
you,
we need everyone in the community to just go blow up their Discord. That would be
Right on. Well, good. Well, thank you, community, for all of your work from all of your respective positions in the network. We'll be back February 20th with some more updates and changes. A reminder for those who are going to ETH Denver, I think that's the 20. I think we'll be there the 26th or so, 26th to like the 3rd, if I remember correctly. So we shouldn't have any of our existing events disrupted by that. But yeah, things are moving along quite nicely already in the new year and feeling quite bullish. And maybe in closing, I do want to just share, one of our company objectives as Regen Network development, speaking as R&D, not as the network as a whole, is to bring in some new enterprise clients this year. So for those, just a reminder, we did deploy the Regen software marketplace for Terrazos this past year. We're looking to bring on some new participants who are interested in deploying the Regen registry system and a Ledger a connection to their existing work. So if you have ideas, let us know. But in true fashion of unless you start communicating about it and putting it out there, you'll start to give it life. That is a goal of ours this year. So we appreciate your help in driving traffic there. And the other thing is really developing more tools, guides, and an environment for people to build around Regen. EcoToken in a lot of ways is pioneering in a lot of the space this year or this past year. And we'd love to see others who have visions for building their businesses on top of Regen Ledger or connected to the ecosystem, have a more welcoming environment to continue to build the eco-entrepreneurship within the Regen Network ecosystem. So know that those are two objectives this year. We're going to be reporting back on those as we make traction on both of those. And if you have questions, feel free to send me a DM. But otherwise, we'll see you on February 20th. Thank you, everybody, for your time today. Go Regen.
Thanks, Dave. Good to see everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, y'all.